Many adolescent girls in Nigeria still face constraints in accessing and completing secondary education. But the World Bank has now approved a $500 million credit from the International Development Association for the Adolescent Girls Initiative for Learning and Empowerment to improve secondary education opportunities among girls in targeted areas. A report identified poor conditions of infrastructure, a lack of water sanitation and hygiene facilities as factors making it difficult for girls to stay in school. The World Bank says the project will support access to secondary education in 7 Nigerian states, which are Kano, Kebbi, Kaduna, Katsina, Borno, Plateau and Ekiti. The project would benefit about 6.7 million adolescents, and 15.5 million direct project beneficiaries would include families and communities in participating states. Well, joining me in the studio is media strategist and girl-child advocate Funke Treasure. Thank you so much for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course, we're ladies, so of course, let's bring it home. So one of the first questions I'd like to ask you is, do people still ask why it is important to educate a girl-child?
I think some people still do. I mean, you can't take away the patriarchal setup of some communities and orientation of some people. Nevertheless, there are quite a lot of people who think it's important to educate a girl child. Why? Because girls grow to women, women become mothers, and these are the nurturers of the nation. These are the nurturers of humanity. And so when you have an educated mother, chances are 50% chances that she's able to educate her own children as well, and that she's able to care for her children properly and prevent, childhood diseases that will make them grow well, give them the right nutrition and all of that, care for them generally. So it's two divides really. Some people don't, a lot of people do.
Oh, very interesting. But out of the 13 million out-of-school children, that, according to reports, you find out that 60% of that number are girls. Of course, based on various reasons, a list of factors. But how would you rate government's response to reducing this number and, of course, tackling this problem?
Yeah, first of all, just as the report says, the challenge of infrastructure is keeping a lot of girls out of school. And I'll say that from the standpoint of someone who works with the girl child, with girls in schools. First of all, when you take girls to school, they're not like boys. They have biological makeup. They have periods every month.
Yes.
I mean, this is 21st century, so let's talk about it on TV.
Yeah.
And so if they do not have changing spaces in school, and they do not have access to water in school, then they're more likely to drop out of school monthly. And if they do that 2, 3 times, 4 times, there will come a time they'll say, no, I'm not going to school. Yeah. Because they then get discouraged. So the government, at the federal and state levels, even local government levels, must realize that infrastructure is key to keeping girls in school and reducing the number of out-of-school girls, in the communities. Having said that, also, we know that when you educate a girl child, you're paving the way for her to thrive in the future. Girls must understand that it is important for them to know how to save, to know how to, care for them, the basic things they need to do. They miss out on all of those when they're out of school. And you talked about the ratio, the population ratio. Of course, in Nigeria right now, you have 50% male, 50% female, and then there's a cascading effects on on girls as well. So it's important that we educate the girls. It's very, very important that the government sees it as priority to provide the basic necessary infrastructure in our schools. And that's why I am even advocating for sanitary pads for secondary school girls.
Free sanitary pads.
It should be free. Because, and then how much does it take to make it free for girls? For a year, you're spending just about 10,000 naira for one girl. We spend much more for the meals we provide in schools. We spend much more for the NYC group, our youth. So I think it's important that we do it. It will give a significant leap to, the efforts to get girls,
Women have to leave it at that. Very interesting conversation, of course. It's always a pleasure to have you, Funke, discuss this. Thank you so much.
Now, you have been in the forefront of supporting the girl child and advocating for them over the years, and we commend what you do.
Thank you.
Now, this money is approved by, that Nigeria is expecting in some of these, in the 7 beneficiary states. In your mind, or in your opinion, what should that translate into in tangible terms, seeing it from the perspective of what you do for girls?
Well, I'm particularly thrilled at this development. Why? Because I have something in a micro
not
project.
In the oven, anyway.
not this huge. But, I had been working on having 1,000 people give to 1,000 girls sanitary pads in underserved communities.
Wow.
And I'd been tasking people, my friends, people of goodwill, to drop 10,000 naira for one girl to access sanitary pads for a year. And we incorporated WASH, which is the water, sanitation and hygiene that the World Bank is talking about, into it. So this is fantastic. We were looking at 10 underserved communities across the Southwest that we can reach, 1,000 per location. So we're looking at about 1 million, children, girls, so that we can aid their education. We can help support them to have access to education. Because at the end of the day, if you do not have water, sanitation and hygiene as a girl child, it's difficult to remain in school, especially in underserved communities where they don't have all the finesse or the fine things of life. So it will shock you to know that girls don't have sanitary pads. They can't go to school. If they go to school, they're ridiculed because they get stinged. Yeah. They need water there. They need changing spaces there. They need all of this. They need soap. Even before the COVID pandemic.
But I wonder why government is not taking that aspect of things
because we're not talking about it. Because there's this hush-hush about sanitation. Is this hush-hush about periods and monthly periods by women. We still live in the 19th century, in the 18th, and you don't talk about it in public.
So there has to be more advocacy.
So there has to be more advocacy. I remember when we started our own project, the Sanitary Pad Media Campaign, I curated the stories, the menstruation stories of 100 working women, 100 women in the media, so that we can talk about these things we ordinarily won't talk about. It will shock you that some of them said, when I was in secondary school, I used to go work in someone's store to be able to afford buying sanitary pad for myself. Other people say I would skip lunch because I was saving money to buy sanitary pads. It is grim, and it's still so. Some of them can't afford sanitary pads, so they do rags. Some of them do foams. Some of them do leaves. Yes, leaves. You can't fathom me, but yeah,
in the
people
21st century.
In the 21st century, modern day Nigeria. So we're asking the federal government, please look into this. Don't let it, this is not about feminism or gender or whatever.
In fact,
this is basic human rights.
Yeah, we even look at local governments can even, because these are issues around secondary schools, around primary 6, because sometimes girls within that age, they get into that bracket early.
Right.
These are things that even local governments can even, buy.
Which is
and
why we are coming, the World Bank is coming from that global point of view. Yeah. But we're looking at the communities, which is why we will be working with the local government people. Okay. We want to penetrate the hinterlands where you have a lot of girls not going to school. And then when we get to these communities, we want to find out the out-of-school girls and the girls in school. If they're out of school, we're committing to 100 girls in a community. We're going to be searching for the out-of-school girls. And when we get to the communities as well, we're going to be looking at, do you have toilets for these girls? Do you have water in school? Because if you do not have water, tell me how a girl wants to be in school.
Right. Now, there was a report by a political sociologist at the Chatham House recently, and they came out with a conclusion from the survey carried out that an average girl in northern Nigeria, her lives revolves around marriage and children.
Right.
How does this compound the situation? Or what picture does this paint?
We just have to leave the past behind. We have to recognize the fact that this is the 21st century, that things have changed, that this is not the time that you keep going to the river to fetch water.
Yeah.
You can you can get water from boreholes, and you can have water run in your houses.
tap.
So yeah, so we
If you're
have
going to the
move
stream,
away.
let it be. You just want to have fun, or
My friend,
something tourism and stuff.
do you understand? So we have to move with the times. Life is not all about marriage, childbearing. It's about quality of life as well, of what you're contributing to the society.
So I'm thinking government has to be a little more deliberate in this.
They have to be deliberate. They have to be more inclusive. We need to do more of inclusion. We need to look at what we need in our environment as well.
Okay.
This is the age of robotics.
Yeah.
This is the age of coding.
We need to move.
Are you there, my brother?
All right, thank you very much, Funke Treasure Duronola, for your time on the program.
Thank you so
And we
much.
wish you well in what you're doing. We really
you.
commend what you're doing for
Thank
girls
you
out
so
there.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Right.